The program you are about to enjoy is intense. CPU intense. Please ensure all other web browsers, Windows, and media-heavy programs are closed before participating. You may experience audio or video loss if running other programs. Thanks. AEOP membership is pleased to present Person to Person. Tonight, Fine-Tuning the Tank, a new AEOP Alumni Association person-to-person competition coming in January 2021, featuring members of the council and their special guest, Laura Wilbanks.
Laura, did you know you were going to be our special guest tonight?
No, I did not.
Well, I want to welcome everyone to Person to Person. I'm Nicole Hayden, and tonight we are pleased to be joined by Christopher DeLeon. Mr. DeLeon is a 6th through 9th grade science teacher at Hudson Middle School in Hudson, Wisconsin. He has been a member of the AEOP Membership Council for several years, but more importantly, he has been a leader within his district for the AEOP eCyber Mission program. We're lucky to have him here tonight to answer questions and to share insight of AEOP competitions. We are also joined by Laura Wilbanks, who is a teacher and team advisor in Whiteface, Texas. Ms. Wilbanks is very passionate about STEM, and I would like to welcome her knowledge and passion to this platform and to thank both of them because they did not know they were doing this 24 hours ago. But I knew I know both of you and worked with both of you in past webinars. So I knew everything would be great. And we also have Katie Schneider here, who's a member of the AEOP Council, and she has a wonderful idea that she would like to share on behalf of AEOP. She would like to share this with both Laura and Chris, and in hopes of giving their feedback on how we can execute this great idea. And so I'm going to give the mic over to Katie, but I'm going to put up this, I believe I can put this file up to kind of help give us a visual and help us to walk through what we're wanting to share. But let's see if this will work. It says sharing and is not sharing. So let me mess with this, Katie, but you can go ahead and start. That'd be great.
Sure. Well, thank you for the introduction. Like Nicole said, we're here to just talk about a new idea we have that the Alumni Council wants to offer to all members who are involved in AEOP. So I want to first start by saying what this idea came from. So the Alumni Council and the AEOP Council and the alumni group our goal is really to inspire alumni to stay active in AEOP programs. And we really want students like myself and teachers and people who have been in the programs for a while to be able to pay it forward and share their knowledge with new and up and coming AEOP members, but also to build their own network of people who have participated in these programs and who are passionate about all the same things we are. So one of the reasons that we were thinking up this idea is, again, to engage us as alumni in something with current AEOP youth members and teachers across the country. And as we were thinking about it, I think a lot of AEOP programs are, I mean, they're all very, very, they're incredible. They've, they changed my own career personally. I participated in JSHS, and they offer a very wide range of programs for different students of different ages. But I think sometimes they are structured, and some of them can be, I don't know if intense is the right word, but very, I don't know. I mean, the example I'm thinking of, I participated in JSHS, and it was very prestigious and it was a lot of work. And so I think we want to offer something that might be a little easier for students to approach, I guess a little more approachable, but also offer the same amount of competition and challenge and skills. So the idea we've come up with is something sort of like the show Shark Tank. So where people bring their inventions to investors and or whatever discovery they have to investors and hope that they can start a business out of it. And so the idea we came up with is to have AEOP students bring their inventions or scientific discoveries to the table and have a group of alumni members and special guests and people like that judge and give away awards. And I think the idea of this is to, again, put the spotlight on the students, the alumni still being involved, but really highlighting the students' work, offering a platform for students who love public speaking and presenting and sharing their ideas. This is a way for them to do that in, again, a more relaxed setting, but also a place for students to practice who might not have those presentation skills and might be intimidated by some of the larger competitions. I think this could really foster very great work among the students and inventions, and really excite them in terms of, maybe this could be something they develop just out of pure excitement or tinkering or whatever it may be, and not necessarily a science fair project with a set criteria or a set goals and things like that. So it's kind of our general idea. I think, Nicole, you kind of want to go, if you want me to go through this sheet a little more detail, and then we just kind of want to get feedback and bounce some ideas around to see how we can make this the best it can be.
Yep, that sounds good. And I'm not able to put this up, so we'll just have to keep going with it.
All right, sounds good. So I'll just run through, and feel free to jump in if you guys have questions at any point. Again, this is really early on in the works of forming this together. But
any feedback you can offer us, Chris and Laura, because you both have way more experience than I do, and I'm just trying to be the middleman or the between the council and then whatever it is we would need to make this thing happen. So your feedback, your thoughts, all of that is welcomed. So
I have a question. The vision for this, would it be like a certain age group, high schoolers, middle schoolers, would it be open to everyone? What would be the thought on that?
Yep. Yeah, so that's a great place to start. I'll just jump right in there. So our thought was anyone participating in AEOP can apply. I think it will naturally tailor more toward middle school and high school students. And I think we can make that a set age group if we want to. One of the things Nicole and I discussed briefly is, and we'll get onto this a little bit later, but the scoring process, I think we can set up a judging in a way that a middle school and high school students can be judged equally. So, the physics knowledge of the high school senior and the, biology knowledge of the younger student, that won't matter. It'll be on inventiveness and creativity and presentation and things like that. So I think we try to level the playing field there, but if you think it'd be best tailored, that's the kind of feedback we're definitely looking for. So again, I kind of went through the platform for these students to improve their public speaking and presentation skills, along with sharing their inventions. I guess we were thinking of calling this the STEM Masters. We're kind of working with that name for now, but the goal would be to ultimately declare a STEM Master at the end of it, and really make it an exciting thing that students want to achieve. Our hope would be to launch this in January of next year, of 2021, and our thought was that we could have 6 rounds of competition leading up to a final contest in August. The first 6 rounds, one each month, would be of 3 students competing against each other with 2 or 3 judges. And then the winner of each of those rounds would go on to a final round in August where they'd represent their idea with the top 6 finalists, and then there'd be an overall winner. We would have different prize levels at each, or different prizes at each level, so there's incentive. We also thought about, we do want to have an application process, so students can't just sign up and be on it. We want to have a pretty rigorous application process, and then have the alumni or some group of a committee choose the students, so that, again, it is competitive to get into and it's difficult. We want students to want to be here and to work hard to do it. So yeah, any questions at this point? We're still good? Yeah.
Okay, when you say 3 students would be speaking against one another, are those student teams or are those individuals?
That's a good question. We're thinking individuals, and that's a good point, Nicole, if we want to consider allowing teams to come. And I think that's a great idea. But yeah, we would have 3 individuals or competing teams. So I guess together there would be 18 projects competing, and then 6 in the final round. Did I do that?
You have a thought on that, Laura? Like, do you have students? Are most of your students in a team, or do they?
Well, I would say, I mean, I primarily work with 6th through 9th grade with the cyber mission. So I don't work as much with JSHS, mostly because, not that it's not a great opportunity, it is, but our town is about a 15-hour drive from where we would have to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And so that limits where we are in rural West Texas to eCyber Mission as the only AEOP program that we can be involved with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was just thinking, if you're talking about January and February, you're talking about the prime months when eCyber Mission teams are gearing up for submission. And so if this was something that went along with their project, if it was something they could do that was part of the project, then it would probably be effective with eCyber Mission kids. I don't know how you feel about that, Chris. I'm just thinking how crazy life is in January and February with, 50 eCyber teams.
Yeah, I would probably second that. I work with eCyber Mission students quite extensively, and especially with 6th through 8th graders, just the confidence level presenting might be enhanced with if they have a partner, that they can to work with. And like was said already, they are gearing up for that eCyber Mission submission, and their research is pretty extensive, and by that time they're pretty knowledgeable about what they've been working on. And I think student-wise, I would give them confidence. But also I can see the value of bringing new students in that are not eCyber Mission, and that maybe they would be, they couldn't find a partner, or they would prefer to work on their own. But having that an option, or even if they were presenting as a team, but maybe have a spokesperson rather than the team presenting. So like you had said, that there was project against project rather than person against person, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I think there's no problem in opening it up to individual students or teams. I think that's great. And to echo, you're saying eCyber Mission is beneficial because it is remote. This would be as on a platform like this as well. So it would be fully remote on a recorded live platform. So the students would be able to do it no matter where they live.
And the purpose of this, one of the purposes is for it to benefit the students. So if it's most beneficial for them to have a partner, to come up and present with, then why wouldn't we go that route, So yeah, that was a good question.
And remind me, when are the eCyber Mission submissions due?
Typically it's end of February. I believe it's the first week in March this year, that for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, because we could maybe, Nicole, talk about moving our timeline too. I'm not sure, what the flexibility is, but we could definitely, if that's possible, to push it. And And I know we had mentioned too about if the eCyber mission and this competition could kind of overlap some, and I think maybe that's a point we make in our application process. If a student wants to try to submit a similar project for both, maybe we have a specific section like, if this is an eCyber mission project, here's the things you need to do to make it different. So you have to have an actual prototype, or you have to have different aspects of the research, so that it is an extension of, and not just a repeated, not two birds with one stone, really.
Mm-hmm.
We could also, we could have the application submitted in January, or like a mid-February deadline, and then instead of having them every month, maybe we do 2 in March, 2 in April.
Oh, sure.
To push it back.
Yep, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have enough council members to make that work, I think. So, yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I was wondering what Chris might think of this too, because if you have, if it is an overlap with the cyber mission and you have students in mid-January coming on a program like this that could be viewed by, well, I don't know who all would be viewed by, but if they're coming on a program like this and telling all their ideas and all their projects, that's enough time in 6 weeks for someone who's pretty savvy to grab that idea.
Right.
Not to be, I don't want to go the wrong way. I'm just saying some are very, very competitive. Some of these teams are pretty competitive. And so that overlap, I think you'd have to be a little bit sensitive to that.
Sure.
So
we could definitely do it after they're judged, or once they're in that process. Yeah.
Or so we could have the applications due prior to them, to your competition, but then we won't actually run the show until after your competition. That would probably make the most sense.
Right.
And you said it's in March, the eCyber?
The first week in March. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think this is something that the students would like to do, especially if it's, if there's a nice prize and publicity, so to speak? Do you see your students wanting to participate in this, or?
For me, I think definitely. I have a lot of students that, especially if it is open to individual, or possibly small teams, that would maybe not necessarily, want to take on a cyber mission, or maybe miss the deadline, because, if I have 6th graders I have on the rotation, I may not even have them yet. And this would be a great opportunity to get some of those students that I wouldn't, involved in a STEM competition of some kind, that I would not be able to work with otherwise. Because if I don't have them, first or second rotation, or first trimester, or even second trimester, it's a little bit hard to get them involved. So I think just being able to open up and say, hey, here's a new competition, here's some opportunities for you to get involved. I always have students that are really eager to get into it, but like we said already, there has to be some vigor behind it, because sometimes the kids that they want to be involved, but they don't want to put in the work. So it's nice that they have to put in the work too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think another thing, we've talked about making it really theatrical and almost TV show like. So again, I think we want to make it something fun that looks like, oh, I really want to be a part of that. And maybe while still being challenging, maybe less of like a report style thing and more of, make a flashy presentation sort of thing. So I think it could offer, approach students who might have different skill sets from the traditional science competitions.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great idea. And I feel like even some of the benefits of the other AEOP programs like JSHS or like eCyber Mission, some of the skills behind that the kids grow in the most are those public speaking skills. And one of the things that you were saying, Katie, is that it would build on the skills, the presentation skills that kids have. And when you're talking about starting in middle school, I just want to be real clear and letting you know there are no skills. There are zero. I'm serious. There are zero skills. And so it is different when you have kids, when you take them to eCyber Mission, if they get the regional or national level, just reminding judges, I think, that these kids are 11 years old. And so sometimes when the kids are presenting their information, a judge or someone may come back and say, well, what were the T factors, or explain your statistical analysis behind that. And I'll just say, I just want to scream, they're 11 years old. What were you doing when you were 11? There is no statistics at that level. So helping them learn some of those things like statistics and public speaking and the confidence that they build is just huge. So I think you have a really great idea for them, because it's so important. The public speaking and the presentation skills are so important. And that's where I really see the growth from year to year. I bet Chris does too. When they start with you in 6th grade, and by the time they're in 8th and 9th grade doing this, it's incredible how much they've grown by that time. So I think it's a great idea.
And you know what I'm thinking is, for the application process, that we have them submit a live video.
Absolutely.
I think that would be, so then that's like their step one of, just learning how to do that, in general, and how to submit that sort of thing. That would be very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So, the other thing we discussed briefly and wanting to get feedback is, do we have a theme? Do we, for each show, or do we, do you think we just leave it open? Do you, calling all inventors for one show, another show being calling, what was some of the other ones we said, Katie, do you remember?
We talked about making, and we talked about themes like, a coding challenge. If there was like a community theme, some kind of themes. I think we kind of nailed on, if we do that, keep it more broad than narrow. But I mean, we've talked about, there are other cases where, the eCyber mission or that B challenge we did might have been successful because they were specific. So students had kind of a direction to go. So I don't know what your take is on that. I think we're leaning toward more broad, but.
Personally, I like kids to be able to take on any type of project or topic that they're passionate about, because then I think they own it. I almost feel like if you narrow that down to a theme, even if you keep it general, if you narrow that down month by month, you're automatically cutting out 90% of the people who might want to participate just because they have an invention in that category.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what you think about that.
I agree. And I think too, if there's a student who is maybe just a tinkerer or likes to, play with things and doesn't necessarily like the academic side of the research yet, but really likes the experimental side, maybe if there's a teacher who can help that student put this together into a presentation, that's following their own interests. So I think it is a way to capitalize on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on that?
I've worked with students, having it broad, like eCyber mission, where it's open, and I've had some some competitions we've done that are very specific. And to be honest with you, I've seen it go both ways. I've seen students that really like the specific just because they have a goal, to reach, and they like having it, their path set for them. And I have others that like it wide open. So I'm kind of a toss up. I've seen it both ways.
Yeah.
And it depends on the students. You're right where when you say that it would put some students away, that it might not be open to all students as far as like having it very specific. But then there's others that's what they really need. So for me, it's a toss up between the two. I personally like it having it wide open, or at least maybe some loose guidelines. But I also like it. I've seen students excel when it's specific. So it just depends. It depends on the kids. I mean, just like people, we have different likes, and you can't get everybody all the time. But I think that would it be possible to do a little of both? I don't know that. And would there be some like different categories that you could, or could it be open to, where maybe like a freestyle kind of, invention or something where it's not in a category, but maybe have an other category. I mean, I don't know, but I've seen it both ways.
No, and that's, I completely get what you mean. Maybe we can do something, maybe we do keep it open, but kind of give leading hints. So, in our application, we could say something like, it might be a code, it might be a coding thing you've discovered, or it could be something X you've built, or it could be, just kind of give hints maybe. But I know what you mean for sure. Some students definitely like that structure. So.
The other, I know, Chris, you have to get going here soon. Is the judging for eCybermission always the same? How does that, are the students given what they are judged on, and is it always the same?
Yeah, students are provided with a rubric that they work towards, and then when it's time to submit the mission folder, which is basically their report, that gets submitted and it gets judged by, I believe, I'm not sure exactly how many, but I want to say it's a minimum of 3. And then from there, they can make comments or things like that. Once they don't see the comments until the competition's done or finished judging, and then that's state, and then it goes to regional if they place first in state, and then it's judged again, that same report, by those regional judges, and then from there on to nationals if they win. But, so that's
Yeah, and Nicole, I've done eCybermission judging for a couple years, so I understand like the rubric process they follow, and it is really specific. It's very guiding for the students. So we can think about if we want it, again, to leave it a little more open, or if we do want to provide that structure. I think part of that can come like in our application maybe being very structured, and then the final, their presentation being more up to their interpretation maybe. But yeah.
I feel like the judging, oh, sorry, Nicole.
No, please go.
I feel like the judging rubric is so important for eCybermission because kids use rubrics for all kinds of projects that they do. And if they did not provide a rubric that broke it down into points that kids can earn. I mean, I've in the past I've also judged eCybermission, and there can be so much junk. I mean, kids can turn things with well, Katie, they can turn in things with 1-sentence answers or not even a sentence, or I mean, I think the rubric would be really important. Personally, I feel like it has raised the level of projects tremendously for eCybermission when they went to making that something the kids could see.
Okay.
That's just that's my opinion.
Do you think we should keep it the same, or do you think we should place more, weight on the actual presentation versus the invention or discovery? Or any thoughts of what you would like to see changed to help benefit the kids?
As far as like a rubric itself, are you talking to Katie or?
To Laura and Chris, just, when you see these students being judged, do you ever in the back of your head think, I wish they would have put more emphasis on this or that, or, because it would help the student,
For eCybermission, the idea that they have done either an engineering challenge or a scientific challenge is about approximately 70% of the judging rubric goes towards that, because it is a STEM competition after all. And then maybe about 15% on teamwork and 20% on community benefit. So if you're looking at something like Shark Tank, that to me, that would be really heavy on the practical nature of it. So maybe it would be the STEM portion would be 50%, and maybe there would be more as far as community benefit, because when I think of Shark Tank, that's what I think is, how do you take your invention and put it in the real world? And whenever you have a project, whatever AEOP program it should be real world authentic, right? Because that's what we're going for.
And then I would also like to add that as far as like the presentation goes, because it's a show, because we want it to be fun and we want people to tune in and watch it. I mean, there has to be some, showmanship. I don't like using the men part, but show personship in it to draw people in. And so, but also I think, having them talk about, the background knowledge, the rationale, and that maybe, especially because of the time right now with COVID, that they may not be in a situation to actually produce something that might meet a standard that they might set for themselves outside of a COVID situation, where maybe the idea or the research is more, and the presentation is more important than the physical object, because there could be some limitations. I mean, there could be some economic limitations. You could have a kid working at their home, off the dining room table, where they're only access to what's around them. They really can't leave. And we don't know, but
no, absolutely.
But but that same kid might be the type of kid that wants to, really bad to participate, and they're searching for a competition or a way to excel or something to even divert their attention away from being at home and onto put their focus into something that they feel that's worthwhile. And I think that this is definitely worthwhile, and that there's going to be so many students that are going to get excited about it, and they're going to enjoy presenting and sharing their ideas and getting some feedback, both ways, and just having the opportunity to do it is going to be huge for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that, depending on how it's scored, that those limitations that they can't help might be, determining if they participate or not. It could be.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I would like to keep talking, but I know Chris has to go, and I didn't want to take up too much of your time. So I guess we will call that tonight's broadcast. And just want to thank you, Chris and Laura and Katie. We really appreciate your feedback, and we will definitely be in touch if you don't mind. Reach out and ask some more questions once we brainstorm and get this all down on paper. So
yeah, this is very helpful. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Miss an exciting episode of Person to Person? Can't make our live broadcasts? Why not subscribe to the AEOP membership YouTube channel and never miss an episode again? For more information on the Army Educational Outreach Program opportunities in your area, simply visit www.usaeop.com. Thank you for tuning in to AEOP's Person to Person. Join us again in 2 weeks.